Thursday?
No. Hey, we're on the air.
We're on the air. Hey, welcome to Suzilla. I'm Susie. That's Matt.
Hey.
And this is Suzilla. You're at Wenatchee Insurance. We're here on North Mission Street in Wenatchee. And we are insurance people. We talk insurance and other stuff. And this is our podcast.
Yes. It's been our podcast for
a couple of years now.
Over 4?
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Holy cats. Well, we got really consistent about it about 2 years ago.
No, we were consistent from the beginning. Every week we'd run one.
Did we?
The exceptions comes when
we're in the middle of enrollment periods.
Yeah, or out of town.
Yeah. Well, when in the fall, you might not hear from us for a few weeks just because we can't. When we're normally doing this, we've got appointments with clients.
Yeah, it gets that way. That's one of our secrets.
Secrets are important.
Yeah, well, we're in an industry that is all about secrets and need to know.
That's true, and that's been very hot in the news lately.
Yeah. It is one of those things, which is kind of weird.
Why?
Because when you run military operations,
yeah,
you have a little thing called OPSEC.
Okay.
Operation security, which I know everyone's heard the phrase "loose lips sink ships."
Yeah, that's from World War II.
World War II, yeah.
And clearly, that hasn't made it. That hasn't survived the last 70 years.
Well, it has, because remember when I was in the military, I was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was one of our briefings when we entered country. Mm-hmm. Was, hey,
don't tell the natives everything.
Don't tell everybody everything.
Because there are. Okay, yes, it is very movie-like, but there are Matahari type people out there.
Well, it's not just Matahari. It's like you don't know who you're telling and who they're going to tell.
No, you don't know, and that's the thing. You might trust this particular person, but maybe they trust somebody who isn't trustworthy. You don't let confidential secrets banty about.
Yeah,
period.
But that was the rules. And when I got my security clearance, I went through another round of deep dives into it. And these are the rules. I actually knew someone that worked over in our S2 office. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I had to go get code books.
Yeah.
Because we were running in those days old school encryptions that you had to authenticate.
Cool.
There
are in many. Okay, everyone says, secrets are toxic. Well, yeah, in personal situations, it can be dangerous. In business and in the military and in the government, secrets sometimes come into play. What we do as insurance agents has a huge amount of confidentiality.
Oh, yeah.
We ain't telling your crap to everybody. Otherwise, it's all bad. Okay. I've been watching the Bob Newhart show from the 70s.
Okay.
Right? And every time I watch an episode, I'm floored by some of the HIPAA violations.
Well, yeah.
It's pre-HIPAA. It is way before this. And,
Bob... HIPAA was what, 96?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But, Bob would go home and he'd tell Emily about Mr. Carlin. It's like, no!
It's so bad.
No! And, it's just like, no! It was played for comedy effect, and maybe it was a little looser at that time.
It was a lot looser at that time, and that's why you had things like HIPAA and some of the privacy laws of the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, and because the ethics slipped. Because it was self-policed and it wasn't working.
No, clearly it wasn't. So people would be in the grocery lines and, did you know about blah, blah, blah? Their kid went crazy. You can't do that.
No. No. The gossip, it put a lid on gossip. But from that time...
It should have put a lid on gossip.
We know that shit still happens. Yes, I did say the word. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the fact is we've always been my entire career has been about confidentiality. This career and the career before this, the one before that less so because I, didn't have a career before this. And I think the job I had before my last job, I cut fabric. So that's not a big deal. Unless you were, someone was throwing a surprise wedding and it was.
Well, I'll give I'll give you an example that most people don't know about. Years and years ago, when I was doing the college thing, I worked in a movie theater.
Yes.
You would get film delivered to you
before
release.
Yep. When I was working at Shopko, when there was still a Shopko, we would get we'd get videos and we get CDs before the release and books before the official release date.
Yeah, because
and that was you could not tell people you had it. You could not put it out on the shelves. You could not go buy it yourself. That's confidentiality.
Well, one of the things we did, because we had, he was a union projectionist, and he was the most chill individual I ever met in my life.
You would get sneak previews.
Yeah, we would have midnight showing. I want to say we did Pulp Fiction that way.
Nice.
But it was hey, management had no idea what was going on.
Well, a midnight showing is technically in the time frame.
Yeah.
But, management didn't know.
No. And it was kind of a management didn't know, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah.
Because the floors, the soups knew, everyone knew. But, the big boss, not necessarily.
Yeah.
But that's an example of something in business that's secret.
That's secret versus confidential.
Correct.
That's different.
And having those weird little secrets are kind of an in game,
mm-hmm.
and an out game is like, okay, who's in and who's out.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't tell the one person that's going to bust everyone out. You didn't keep them. You didn't invite them to the group chat.
You didn't invite Dwight.
Correct. and that was keeping that in, and you built teams that way.
But it's also exclusive. It also creates division with the person with the Dwight in the group.
Yeah,
leaving them out can be,
mm-hmm.
From a personal standpoint, pretty psychologically damaging.
Yes, except that Dwight would sit there and bust you out.
Yes, so that's on Dwight.
So yeah, there's a certain level.
But if Dwight was accepted to your group and embraced, would he still bust you out?
It's hard to say. That's one of those.
That's a personal thing versus a business thing.
Yeah, it's a personal thing versus a business thing, and I was dumb kid in my 20s.
Yeah, we all did things like that when we were 20s.
And this was after the military,
right?
After I was dealing with confidential and secure information.
Yes.
But all through different employers, I had things that were secret, things that were confidential.
Yeah.
When I worked on bids with Banta.
Oh, totally. Bids are always confidential.
And a classic example was I was turning in a bid for, it was a e-commerce tool.
Okay.
And this was like a multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah.
I was the only other company bidding on it was IBM.
Oh dear.
And I had keys to the building.
Oh.
To turn in the bid.
Oh.
Because that's on how trusted of a contractor I was.
Nice.
So I turned in everyone. The building was clear. The lights turned on as I walked into the building with my big bid folder, because that's what we were turning in those days. There weren't electronic submissions. You had to turn in the physical report. And sitting on that desk
was the IBM bid. Did you want to look?
Didn't even cross your mind.
Okay.
Didn't even cross my mind. and this is back in the late 90s.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I had the access, the complete unfettered access of a competitor's bid.
And you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're a stand-up kind of guy.
And that's why I was trusted with keys to a building and a pass, a vendor pass, that no one in that company ever was able to obtain.
Nope. You done good, babe.
And that was the level of trust and confidentiality because I held that information in confidence.
Right.
But like I said, all through my career, I've had these levels of secrets and confidences along the way because, yeah, secrets are meant to be secret.
Now that it's 30 years later, did you ever mention that you saw the bid binder from the other team?
Yeah, I mentioned it to the contract holder.
And what did they say?
That was about it. It was one of those things. I was like, yeah. I told him I put it next to the IBM bid.
There you go.
And yeah, the VP that was there is like, you should have looked at it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, because I don't know what cameras are on in that building.
Oh, that's also consideration. Yeah. That might have been that actually might have been a test to a degree.
It could have been, but it's one of those things. Instinct, and I literally said this, like I don't know what cameras are going.
Mm-hmm.
And I told the VP that, and it chilled him instantly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And because you don't know who is watching.
No.
At any given time.
No, it might be.
It might be Gandalf of the group chat.
That's right. It might be Gandalf of the group chat. Yeah, in the Mordor group chat. One does not walk into Mordor. Yeah, it could be. And you want to know, that's why you don't do public group chats if you're dealing with highly confidential, secure information.
Well, yeah, if you have an unknown person in the room.
Yeah, you should know every single person you're discussing this with if it is that confidential of a matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. That's why, when you always think about let's think of the movies, because I'm non-military. I don't know. Everything I know is mostly from movies and from is in this,
Well, you want to go back to like Get Smart?
Even then,
ancient silence.
Yeah, which never worked right, but that's beside the point. But no, you talk about like the war room. You get into a room and you discuss it face to face to face. That way you know who you're dealing with.
Well, the first thing you walked in is the first thing you always ask is the room secure?
Yeah.
If you're over the phone, is this a secure line?
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that even an issue at this stage?
I don't know, and it's a really a big question that it has to be.
It's a massive national question.
Because yeah, there are times that it's like, okay, we're talking on cell phone. It's like, okay, I want to talk to you in person.
Yeah. It's really simple. There are times when I will not say things out loud in the presence of a cell phone, whether or not it's being used.
Yeah.
I know that. Okay, Matt and I were talking about notepads.
Yeah.
Yesterday in my office. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever started looking anything up, but I was looking at like Remarkable, so I could just take some notes and things like that. And in his feed, his social media feed, he started getting ads.
Yeah. And
he hadn't gone and looked at stuff in his stuff. It was all just bleed over from me.
Yeah. It's because we got a connection, and if we're talking about it, and you look about things.
Well, and I was looking on Amazon, and that would do it right there. But still, that kind of stuff is that the internet is not secure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever think the internet is secure. Do not ever think that what you see on your cell phone is secure.
Your smartwatch.
Or your smartwatch.
Sirius notorious for giving out stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we came into another big story the last couple of weeks. 23andMe.
Yeah, they went bankrupt. And their books are for sale now. Everything, all those genetic tests are up for auction.
Millions and millions of people's genetic information are up for sale.
Yep.
And for years, I've been, hey, don't do these. You don't know on what the outcome is going to be or what they're going to.
Okay, so let's assume that. Okay, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Some awful fascist gets into power and gets a hold of these millions of 23andMe, tests, and decide they want to filter out everybody that has Ashkenazi Jew in them and target them for elimination.
Yeah.
You realize what Hitler could have done with that? Yeah. And that's the kind of thing you got to be careful about.
Well, Frank Herbert wrote about that in White Plague.
There you go. Same thing.
Yeah, they targeted a gene and it jumped over and it ended up impacting the female.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing you need to be. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying be paranoid. I'm just saying be cautious.
Yeah, it's laws do not match up with the speeds of technology.
No, that's always been a concern.
We had I think we've still got at least one that was born before television. Representative that's was born before television.
Okay, we have yeah.
And so, yes, they do not understand computers. Yes, they do not understand, mobile devices. And, yes, they don't understand that you shouldn't put hackable materials into your body.
No.
But
it's still the future.
It is the future.
It is the future. It's going to be a point where it's going to be, eventually. I mean, that's one of the things that's being bandied about. And it's always been a science fiction thing. It's like, oh, here, you're just going to have your credit chip in embedded under your skin instead of having your card or your smartwatch just go bip with your wrist. Yeah. Well,
no, they've got a couple companies that do that for proximity. It's not horrible. I'm talking about, hey, let's have a pacemaker that can be interacted with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
There are, devices in control. There's a CPAP.
Yeah, it's an implantable CPAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're the insulin, automatic insulins.
Insulin pumps have been around for decades, but
but you've got more and more connectivity with sending information back and forth via Wi-Fi.
Yeah, on one hand, it's super useful.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, that's why you have to have these laws to keep things like this confidential.
Well, you have laws, and then you have safeguards as well.
Yeah, you've got this. One things you've got to have the checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have the safeguards. You've got to have consequences if the laws are broken.
Well, so you start out, okay, what is your procedures for keeping things secret?
There you go.
Here's the first thing. In our office, we shred
tons of
documents.
We avoid using paper. If we do use paper, we shred it. That's why I was looking at those, those digital pads.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using Rocket Books, which are erasable notepads.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. They just wear out.
Yeah. And we're not talking, shredder as the old lines. No, this is like
we're talking confetti shredders, yeah. And that's important. That's a hidden thing. And then we've got, when I walk away from my computer, it shuts down.
Yeah.
It goes to sleep until I walk back in and give it my face.
Mm-hmm.
Or another form of biotechnological login. But it's also connected to the internet. But another thing we're also doing is we're creating in our own office a a small server set that is just for our setup.
Yeah, the old school was it's an intranet.
Yeah, that's it. We're doing an intranet situation, which I think is kind of snazzy, especially for confidential conversations.
Yes, and it's we're working on more on isolating what we do and more secure, and not using, you don't go in and plug your phone into public Wi-Fi. You just don't do that. That's no bueno. Because you don't know on what can be carried back onto your device. If you plug in your laptop and you're enjoying your coffee at Starbucks and using their public Wi-Fi, you want to have screens, because if something jumps on, there's, like, for example, keystroke technology that will get your passwords.
Well, yeah, absolutely. They don't hesitate, and that's why that's why the fingerprint and the face is kind of nice for that. But yeah, keystroke technology. From a physical standpoint, they call them shoulder servers, where people will just you've actually got screen protectors that will keep you can't be looking at it from an angle and see anything.
Well, the biometric one was one of the ones that is kind of, you don't want to get too involved in it, because you don't have the protection against searches and seizures. It failed in a Colorado court case. Against, so if someone decides to, hey, you're going to use your fingerprint or you're going to use your face print, they can do that to unlock your devices, versus 4-digit code. They're that level of security, and then there's the ownership of the platform, where sometimes they've turned over stuff. Because they said, one of the classic ones was done in our state a couple of years ago. Was the Department of Licensing turned over documents of immigrants.
Yeah.
And the governor found out about that and put the big old halt to that really quick. And then the reason why you do that is because you want those protocols being used. You want to make sure that hey, people know what the laws are for driving, and do so in a legal and good manner. If you have them, it's like, oh well, no. If you go here, you get your information gets shared and they get busted. Then you defeat the purpose of having that license and that training, and so you get more accidents.
Exactly.
Or if you if you turn over court documents so that people know that, oh, they're going to be at court this day, we can ambush arrest them. That means you'll have fewer people going to court. What our lawyers did, a bunch of the defense attorneys got together and said, hey, we want to be able to make Zoom calls more readily available, so that people can have their day in court
and not feel like they're going to be endangered.
Correct. So they won't get ambushed, and
that's happening.
Because that is happening, and that's one of the ways you can do that, because you want people, and this includes like witnesses. This includes victims of crime. You do not want to create a group of individuals that is afraid of using the court systems, because then you have injustice.
Exactly. That's a whole other conversation. I have no idea how long we've been at this.
We're 24 minutes.
Okay, so we got a few minutes. I lost track, and that. So, but yeah, we it's not just immigration; it's also victims of domestic violence.
Yeah,
there's using the ACA programs. Our platform here in Washington State, of course, the Washington Health Plan Finder, has confidentiality blocks for that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
It's like, are you a victim of domestic violence? Yes. Do you have this? It's like, okay, well, we can just, we just mark this, and this, and suddenly this information's not out there.
Mhm.
It's not as discoverable.
No, we had an individual the other day that came in and it's like, hey, I need to work on my mom's Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
And the first things questions out of my mouth was, do you have a medical power of attorney?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, then we can't discuss the specific situation, but we can discuss things that are general.
Yeah.
Because we're always here to discuss general situations.
Yeah.
Hey, I need to talk to somebody about how do I sign up for Medicare. Go to Medicare, go to socialsecurity.gov. I'll show you the websites. I'll show you the stuff that's publicly available. I'm not going to help you unless your mom's with you.
And that is one of those things that a fair amount of people get hit with that roadblock because they don't think about it. Because these are important decisions and important secrets.
Oh yeah.
You may be changing the relationship where you have to take more care of someone. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you need some keys to unlock that privacy.
Yep.
And that's where you run into hey, you durable power of attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, are you the authorized rep on this health plan and finder account?
Yep. You'd be surprised at how many spouses get ticked off about the fact that they don't have access to their other spouse's information. It's like, I can't tell you this. You're not an authorized representative. You don't have power of attorney. But it's like, yeah, well, you should have thought about that. Which reminds me, we should probably do that, you and I.
Well, yeah, it's the.
But no, it's like, well, but I was married. I've been married to him for 30 years. Like, yeah, that's great. And then I tell them the story about the husband who came to the pharmacy before HIPAA, got his wife's med list, and then took it to court to try and prove she was an unfit parent because of her depression medication.
Yeah. And
it was readily given because he was the husband. We never know the situation behind the scenes.
Yeah, so
never assume you know what's going on.
So that's why there are safeguards in confidentiality.
Exactly.
And one of the arguments that is occurring is the age of being able to make those decisions autonomously, separate from the parents.
Yes.
We've seen that come into a couple times over the last couple of years. Vaccinations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mental health. I believe the age in the United States 13.
13 for confidentiality at a doctor's office.
Yeah. And then reproductive care is in there. Gender affirming care. These are all things because sometimes the young person coming up has a idea or has a need that is separate from the parent's idea of how the situation works.
And you see that. You see that in the news. You see all kinds of things. Sometimes a child isn't safe with certain secrets with their parents.
Yeah. Oh, we all kept secrets. Our parents didn't know where the Kager was going to be on Friday night.
There you go. No.
And that.
Okay, we didn't think they knew.
Oh no.
They knew there was a kegger, they just didn't know where it was. Now, okay, the keggers around here were pretty straightforward to find.
Well, that's because you didn't have enough woods.
Yeah, we did. But it was just, everyone went to the same place, but that's a whole other conversation. If you wanted to find the kegger, it wasn't hard.
We had, there was more than once. It was like, okay, go here, walk down this trail 2 miles. There it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were adventure maps done on napkins on a need to know basis.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did some horrible things. And yeah,
but we had fun.
We had fun.
Yep.
Looking
but that's another example of confidentiality.
That's another example of confidentiality. And that's why we got invited over and over to these things.
Because you didn't spill the beans.
You didn't spill the beans.
Don't spill the beans.
So, yeah, there are protocols in place for a reason.
Yeah.
If the Office of Insurance comes in and says, hey, I need these documents,
they better have a court order.
You know, an insurance company comes to us and say, hey, I need this information. They're on a need to know basis.
Yeah.
If
there's even points where it's deep enough that's like, no, you really do have to provide me with a court order before I give you this information.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the checks and balances. That's part of the protocol.
Yeah.
Know your protocols. No, keep the confidential information confidential. Do not banty national secrets across the internet.
Yes. Most cases, a group chat is completely inappropriate. A group chat with someone you don't know in the room,
even worse.
Yeah. Because you don't know what that mystery person is.
We don't know who they are. We don't know if they care. We don't know if they're there to get the information and go do bad things.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is okay to have confidential information in your workplace.
Yes.
You want to safeguard it, particularly when there's people's lives are at stake.
Yeah. Yeah. Lives are at stake with a lot of this situation. And we need to make sure that you protect those lives.
Yeah.
Assuming you care about them. All right. Either way, good place to stop.
Yep.
I think we're out of time. And thanks for joining us on Suzella. And we will talk again next week.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if you have any ideas about which we should talk about, don't hesitate to pop in.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.